Hello, and welcome back to Let's Talk Chicago Bears. Even though not many people won after that so-called game yesterday, there was nothing really positive about that game yesterday. There's a few things, but I'm going to do things a little bit differently today. I'm not going to be giving my usual stats, what everybody did, because it's just not worth mentioning. There's a few things I'll mention, but we're going to get into it because that was an embarrassing loss. Again, now two embarrassing losses in a row. And to me, this team is in big trouble. I mentioned on Friday's show that this was a must-win. Of course, you are 4-4, so the season is not technically over by any means. You still have a half a game. You still have 8 more games to go, or some 7 or 8 games. I don't know. But I said on Friday this was a must-win, and even if the Bears didn't win the game on yesterday, if they would have showed up, they did not show up in that game. We know that. They did not. So, and that to me is on the coaches. So, first, I'm going to go through a few stats. I'm not giving many. I'm just going to show you the brutal stats. And I'm not really giving anybody any credit because they certainly don't deserve it. So, but I will say, okay, so the score was 9-29. Horrible. Couldn't even score a damn touchdown. But these players were out. Like last week, we missed Gordon and Brisker again. So we missed Gordon, Brisker, Sweat, Herbert, Braxton Jones, and Cordwert on our D-line. And Stevenson, number 29, did not start the game. He came in after the third series. And actually, he played a pretty damn good game considering. But as I said last week, missing Gordon and Brisker are huge, and of course Swift, because Swift, as of Friday, Gordon, Swift, all these guys except for Brisker were limited practice on Friday, so I thought they were going to play, and then they were all late scratches, so I'm wondering about that. Were they really hurt, or did they just not want to play? But again, Brisker and Gordon solely missed, especially Brisker, because that guy can disrupt so much. He comes up, he causes fumbles, he causes sacks, he gets interceptions. He is a disruptor, Brisker, and he was solely missed. And he's missed 3 games now, and I'm real concerned because it is a concussion. Gordon, Brisker, and Sweat were the biggest. The 3 were so missed. And, of course, Braxton Jones on the offensive line, because that offensive line was atrocious. So, but missing these players did not help. But let's go into it. So the Bears only had a total of 241 total yards. Arizona had 350 total yards. We passed for 172 yards. They only passed for 137 yards. Because you know why? Because they could run the ball up and down the field all afternoon. We only had 69 yards rushing. We're going to talk about that because I'm really pissed about that game call by the offensive coordinator. And Arizona had 213 yards rushing. Why would you even throw the ball? They didn't need to throw the ball. They ran at will up and down that field. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing by our defense. My top 3s are time of possession, turnovers, and penalties. And it's so funny because this totally blows out of the water what I usually say. Because I say, if you can be close to winning those top 3, you're going to win the game. Not this week. The Bears won time of possession. They had it 31.01 minutes to 28:59 for Arizona. We had 2 turnovers. The Bears defense got 2 turnovers. We did not turn over the ball. The only out of these 3 we lost the penalties. We had 6, they had 2. So that kind of throws my thing out except for the penalties. And I hope that if you are a regular watcher of my show and you've been watching, especially the 5 years, I preach penalties, what they do to a game, and I'm going to show you what they did to that game yesterday. We punted 4 times again, way too much. The Bears defense did have 3 sacks. So what? Arizona had 6 sacks, and they could have had more because Williams was running for his damn life out there. And on the turnovers, they were both fumbles by Arizona, but they did us no good at all getting those, because when we did get the fumbles, we did nothing for it. Now, I will call out one person on the offense, and I thought he had a good game. It was Rome, number 15, our rookie. He had 104 yards. He seemed to be the only one there for his quarterback. He was getting open, and he was making some catches. Swift only had 51 yards rushing. Terrible. And then the sacks by the Bears defense was number 31 Bard, number 55 Martin, and number 91 Williams. And I don't even really know who Martin is, but they had him. But again, those didn't really happen at all. So I'm not really. I usually do more stats, but I'm not going to do that because it's just not worth it. We know the Bears couldn't even score a damn touchdown. They could only manage 3 field goals. If you can't score a touchdown in an NFL game, you're not going to win. And you know what? This team was beatable. There were weaknesses, and we just couldn't do it. The O-line was awful. The first series, the O-line was actually looking pretty good, but it was just a matter of Arizona making adjustments, right? So the O-line gave up those 6 sacks, and it could have been more. And I don't think the wide receivers are doing Caleb any favors. I don't think they're getting open enough, in my opinion. And I don't think that Cabe had a very good game. I really don't. He's overthrowing these receivers that are open for these long passes, and he's continuing to do it. I know he can do those, but I think it's because he just has no time to set and plant his feet. And so, you know what, when you're running all over and you're running and you're throwing, quarterbacks should be back there, should have some time. Now, there was one point in the game where the announcers accounted that Cabe had 5 seconds, and that is enough to get the ball out, but his receivers weren't open, so he couldn't do anything. So what is he doing? He's running for his life and taking sacks. He needs to learn how to throw the ball out of the bounds or throw it to somebody's feet. He cannot keep taking these sacks because not only are they disruptive to the offense, but he can get hurt. You know what I mean? He could get hurt. He has got to learn how to get rid of that ball. And several times in the game, because he took the sacks, twice it cost us field goals. And that is just not acceptable. You've got to, you're moving the ball. I'm going to talk about that first drive in a minute. But you know what? When you have the opportunities in the NFL, you got to take them. And the Bears yesterday, that offense, I don't know what looked worse, the defense or the offense. It was just terrible. But let's talk about the penalties, okay? I'm going to describe how destructive the Bears. So you say, well, they only had 6. But the 6 they had, several of them out of the 6 were very disruptive. In the very first drive, when the Bears were driving that ball, they had 2 costly penalties. They were going down the field, and then boom, it's 2nd and 16 after a penalty. Boom, another penalty. It's 3rd and 13. And then what happens? We're in field goal range that first drive. I mean, we were looking pretty good. Back, penalty, and then what happens? Williams gets sacked out of field goal range. Those penalties cost us at least a field goal, if not more, in that first drive. And it's the first drive of the game, and you're 2 costly penalties. Then, in the second quarter, Arizona was running all over the Bears defense, as we know. And then So then it's the end of the second quarter. There's not a lot of time left. Arizona's going down the field, going down the field, going down the field. They're down with on like the 10-yard line or something like that, a bet ready to score. And then number 91 of the Bears steps up and sacks the quarterback, which pushes them back and holds them to a field goal attempt. So we were going to hold them to 3 points rather than 7 after they had just run up and down the field on us. And then what happens? The special teams comes out and gets a penalty. Now Arizona has first and goal. So instead of 3 points, what do? They run it in and they get a touchdown. Score is now 6-14. It could have been 6-10. And you never know. Would have been 6-10? Yeah. You never know after that. So that, you know what? We get the sack, the defense does what it needs to do, and then you get a penalty, wipes it out, and then you give them 4 more points with a total of 7. So now you're going into halftime 6-14, which is just terrible. Well, and right before halftime, so then the Bears get the ball back and something weird happens. So they had the roof open if you were watching the game, and it starts pouring rain, and then it starts hailing. And it was crazy. So the Bears looked terrible in that drive, and it was just, I'm like, of course it's raining and hailing. They never expected that. They ended up closing the roof, but it really didn't make any difference. And, the offense just looked terrible. They should have stayed with the run more because Swift was getting yards when he was running. I don't know why. They should have stayed on the run and they should have pounded it down. And then if you can't, then okay, you start mixing it up. But there was many times the OC coordinator, I think, did a terrible job. There was many times where we were in good field position. I would have run the ball first and then throw it on second down. And then there was one point where they threw 3 times and it was nothing. And it's like, run the damn ball, OC. Come on, Shane, what the fuck? You got to get that run game going. And I believe if they would have stayed with it, they would have had a better chance because he was getting yards. And then they just left it, especially in the second half. And where is number 85 Clement, our great tight end? They're not using him. Even at the end of the game, they had another tight end in there they threw to. Clement can get open, and he catches everything you throw to him. What the fuck, coaches? I mean, really, you've got these players, and they're not in there, or you're not using them? I just don't get it. You scored 9 damn points. Unbelievable. And, when that rain came down, I was like, of course. And, so you've got Swift, who in the last, 2-3 games has gotten over 100 yards. Hand him the ball. It takes off the pressure from Cabe and the offensive line. But no. I mean, I don't get it. He was not mixing up the run with the passing, and then of course you're behind, so what do you have to do? You have to pass. But they should have stayed with the run more in the second and third quarters, and then if you're still down, of course, you're going to have to pass. But they knew, because the Bears stopped running, so they knew they were going to So they blitzed them every time because, first of all, they know our offensive line is atrocious and banged up. So they're like, oh, we'll just blitz the hell out of them. And they did. 6 sacks. He was running all over the place. They could have easily had 10 sacks. But he was running all over, and it was getting me so nervous because I'm like, throw the damn ball. He has got to learn. I know that Williams wants to make plays. He's a gamer. He wants to make plays. But you're still young, and you got to learn, get rid of that ball. Do not take a sack, because sacks knock you out of field goal range. It hurts your punter, because if, you don't get sacked and you go out on the 4th down, maybe you're in good range that the punter can nail him back within the 5-yard line. You know what I mean? It's just so destructive. And nobody on that offense looked good. Nobody. I would say Rome is the only one, number 15, who showed up, and what did I say, at 104 yards? He was the only one doing anything. It was embarrassing. You come off a loss last week like we did, and you can't score a touchdown. You only score 3 field goals. That offense looked lethargic, unprepared. They came out in that first drive and they were moving. I thought, okay. And I said, the offense has to score first, and they have to take charge of that game because the defense was so banged up. For once in your damn life, offense, you bring home the win. That the defense has been doing it all year, but no, they look terrible. I mean, for that alone, Flus should be fired. We're going to get into that. Now the defense. Let's talk about them. Okay, again, Brisker, Gordon, and Sweat were out, and now you're seeing how important Brisker and Gordon are. 2 games missed. We almost got through last week's game without them. Not yesterday. Not yesterday at all. And it really hurt. But the defense couldn't stop the run. 213 yards on the ground. Terrible. Terrible. I could have done better. You know what? And I got to tell you, right before that second half, right before halftime, and Arizona's got that ball, and it's 3rd down, and the Bears give up a 53-yard run. They score a touchdown. It's 9-21 right before half. The game's over at that point but how the hell did that happen? And of course, Flus right after the game. That was my fault because I called a pass and they ran. Oh, now you're taking the blame, which you should have done last Monday. And maybe the team wouldn't look as shitty as they did yesterday. Maybe, just maybe, they would have respected you for it instead of you, Flus, blaming them all last week. I think you came out Thursday and sort of take the blame off but you came out last Monday and you said they didn't execute. No, Flus, you didn't execute in that game last week, and you didn't execute this week either. When that run happened at the end of that second quarter, I felt like it was the Hail Mary all over again. I don't know about you guys, but my heart just sunk and I got sick. I had to open up another beer or 2 or 3, and it was just, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, here we go again. How ridiculous. I know we were missing those players and stuff, but we are going in the wrong direction. We needed this win. Number one, to show the league we're not the laughing stock of the league, even though we are again, and to show and for the players to pick them up and say, we can do this. We had one bad game last week, a stupid thing happened, but they didn't come out. The team looked unprepared, undisciplined, and they played a team that was beatable. Beatable, people. We could have beaten them. They were not better than us. But Flus, head coach, offensive coordinator, and Flus, defensive coach, had the Bears unprepared. They were not prepared for this game. So, I say to myself, okay, what's going on here? And as I was watching that game, I kept thinking, when I was watching those players and thinking about the players that were limited practice on Friday, which a lot of times means they're going to play, not always, and then they don't play. They're all scratched. And we're losing like this. We look like a little league, football team. They don't even look like a high school team. And I think to myself, has Flus lost the locker room, the players? And that team yesterday showed me, in my opinion, he lost them. I didn't see what I saw last week when the Bears were down that whole game last week and fought all the way back only to blow it. Thank you, Flus. And that had to kill them. I know it. I know how we felt, and we're fans. We're not the players. Can you imagine how those people how they must have felt? The offense and the defense. They played their ass off last week in Washington, and because of a bonehead couple decisions by the head coach, they lost that game. I know everybody wants to blame Stevenson, and yeah, that was stupid, but I really don't think he's the reason. We should have called in that Washington game. We should never have let him. They should have gone after him when he got that free 15 yards that put him on the 35-yard line. They should have gone after him then. And then they didn't. Then they should have called a timeout and really thought about how they were going to play that Hail Mary. Had they not given him, if they had gone after them with a play before, and he would have never made the Hail Mary, because he would have been on the 35, 40, 50-yard line. He wouldn't have made it. So, you know what? Flus really blew that. So, you got this week. You come out and you're like, okay, let's hope. I don't think that loss was out of their heads. And those Bears looked defeated on that field yesterday. Embarrassing, defeated. You had one or two players playing and the rest of them didn't. Yeah, you had a sack here and there and you did have some fumbles, but they resulted in nothing. We got nothing out of those. When we did get that one turnover in the first half and the Bears got the ball on good field position, did nothing with it. Nothing. They did end up getting a 53-yard field goal from Santos, but you should go down and score touchdowns. When your defense puts you up with good field position, you damn well better do your job. But see, on that, I believe he got sacked too, and that pushed him back, but it was just enough that Santos, thank God we have Santos, because a 53-yarder, that's pretty damn good. And I mean, they just look bad. And you know what? I have been trying for the last year and a half to be supportive to Flus. I know that he's a great defensive coordinator, no doubt about it. He seems to be able to motivate the guys and keeps them together until last week. It all changed after that Washington game. And I felt if we could win yesterday against Arizona, maybe we could put that behind us. I don't think so. We're 4-4. It's not over, but you got, New England I'm not too worried about. Although, who knows, then you've got 2 times Green Bay, 2 times Dallas, 2 times Minnesota, and look how they're all playing. Except for the only good thing about yesterday was the Lions creamed Green Bay in the rain. And everybody was saying, I had read, the Lions are going to have a terrible time because they're a dome team. Yeah, I don't think so, because I think the score was 24-3, so the only good thing. But everyone in our division is playing well, so it's going to be tough. And then we have, then you have Seattle and 49ers. So 3 teams out of our division, New England, Seattle, 49ers, and then the 6 games with our division. The Bears are fucked. I feel that Flus has lost the team. I really do. I don't think they respect him after what he did last week, how he put them all under the bus. I said it last week in my show, and I couldn't believe it because I did not like Nagy either. But that was one thing our last coach Nagy did. If he fucked up like this, he would admit it. And that's where you keep the respect of your players. Whether it was his fault or not, you are the head coach. Everything is on you. It's like the president of the United States. They fuck up, it's on them. So, Flus, I don't know, maybe you need to go to the dictionary and look up what head coach means, because you ain't doing it. And on that note, I think he should be fired. The Bears have never fired a head coach midseason, and I don't think they'll do it now. But I believe, because Flus is also the defensive coordinator, but we do have a defensive coordinator. So you know what? I don't like Shane. That's the problem, because he can't call an offensive game either. I don't think he's the right offensive coordinator for Williams. How much, I can't think of the official defensive coordinator's name, but, how much is it Flus? How much is it him? I'm sure he calls the play and then Flus yes or no's him. So if they did fire Flus, who do you put in charge? The OC or the DC? I don't know. So it's like, and at this point, people, we're not going to the playoffs, okay? I hope you all got that out of your mind. I've been telling you that all season. I just wanted a 500 season. I'm not sure we're going to get it, and that's wrong, because going to this season, hands down with the schedule we had, especially in the beginning, we should be at 500 at the end of the season. Now, we certainly can. It's not over. I'm not saying that, but Right now, it don't look so good. And I think if they do fire Flus now, if he has lost the locker room how I think he has lost the respect of his players, I think that would send a message to the players like, okay, we see it. It wasn't good. So we're going to get rid of it and we're going to try to hang on because, you know, you don't want to start changing coaches all the time with a new quarterback like we have, because you just don't want them to have to go, you know, from this coach to this coach to this. I mean, Fields did kind of have that problem. Didn't he have, well, he had two. He had Nagy and he had Flus. And you have to learn new systems, and it's never good. So, you know what? I don't know. I think it's time. I really do. I think it's time to fire him. You know, you're not going to see the team, if they did fire him, run off and win all their games, but you don't know. Because it just seemed to me he's lost that locker room. And I remember back, and I think it was the Trustman gaze, which I never understood that hire. When that man had his hat off, he looked like a child molester. He was scary. But anyways, when he was the coach, I believe there was something happened and he lost the team. It was him or the coach before. I can't remember. But it was clear. It was towards the end of the season, and the Bears were not playing. They were just out there. And you know what? On the flip side of that, your players are being paid, and they should show up and play 110% every week. There's no doubt about it. It's not acceptable because you're pissed at the coach to not play well, but it happens. And sometimes it's not deliberate, and sometimes it's deliberate. I'm not sure yesterday's was deliberate, but years and years ago when they did that, it was deliberate, and it was quite obvious, and he ended up getting fired at the end of the season. So I'm not sure, but players should go out there. They do make a living. That's their job. I mean, when I was working, there was many times I was pissed off at my boss, but I didn't stop doing my job 100% because I get paid. I would have been fired, right? So, but it's a slippery slope here. You know, do you fire him? Don't you? Will it be productive? You don't know. But I don't know. It looked bad. I mean, they were bad. The penalties, horrible. I mean, like I say to you, I preach it, and I hope you're sitting in your living room going, God, she's right. I was watching college games. I was watching other NFL games, and were happening. I'm like, see? Look what it does. You know? And they're so disruptive. And the Bears, that puts them undisciplined, unprepared, and it could have been worse. And the fact that offensive line, I mean, Poles should be ashamed of himself for not making sure we were fully stocked on that offensive line in the offseason, and he didn't do it. Now it's too fucking late. You're not going to get one. You're going to have to wait till next year, and you got to pray that your quarterback doesn't get hurt. And speaking of hurt, another reason Flus should be fired, we're losing 9-29 because Arizona got a safety. Anyways, they got a fucking safety. So it's 9-29, and there what was there 2 minutes left in the game? And Williams is still in there and running for his life, and then he hurt himself. How many teams do you see when they're getting creamed, they take their starters out? Why was Williams in there? Why? Because he's a rookie, should learn? Bullshit! There was no way to come back and win that game. There was nothing to learn, Flus, from that. And if he is seriously hurt, I swear to God, I will come there, rip your arm off, and beat you with it. Yeah, I will. I'll get on a plane to do it. You think I'm not kidding? I am not. That was so irresponsible. You don't do that. You don't put this rookie quarterback, who's had the hell beat out of him. He was running for his life. The announcer said, this is like, kids playing football in the backyard, running for your life. That's what Williams was doing yesterday. And yes, I said he made some mistakes, but he's still a rookie. And I wish he would have thrown the ball out. He did. on several times, but man, they were chasing him. He has to be exhausted today. And he did hurt his ankle, I believe. So he should never have been in that game. For cripe's sake, put Badgett in there. Why not? I mean, or Tyson. Well, Tyson Badgett. Put Tyson in there. You know what? After that first series, when the Bears came out and looked like, okay, then penalty, sack, no points. Had they gotten points on that first drive, 3 or 7, regardless, it could have changed the whole nature of the game. Points make so much difference. So much. And the Bears, 9 points, 3 field goals. This is the NFL. Floose. And you know what? I'm just, I did this, I did that. You know what? You fucked up on the Hail Mary, and then you gave them a 53-yard Hail Mary run in the end of the second quarter. And you gave them free 7 points. I mean, they run down there and get a touchdown. Then you have another one where you hold them to 3 points, and your fucking special teams does a launching, and you can't launch over a player. Everybody knows that, and gets a penalty. And what do? They get a fresh set of downs, and they get a touchdown instead of 3 points. That could have helped. But you know what? At this point, you knew the Bears couldn't score. They could move up and down the middle of the field, but that's it. They could never get close enough. They just were playing. Arizona was giving them like the 30 to 30, and that was it. And that's why they only got field goals. And you know what? No. Arizona, they beat the Bears, obviously, on the score. It was 9-29, but the Bears beat themselves because they didn't show up, they didn't give a fuck, and Floose has got to go. Polls, you know what? I know the Bears don't do it, but there is a good thing. I don't know all the rules, but if you fire a coach mid-season, you get extra provisions when the season's over. I believe that you're allowed to look, because usually you're not allowed to look for new coaches during the season now, but if you fire one, you have longer time than everybody else, and you get certain provisions. See, I've had too many beers last night, I'm pickled. But you get special provisions at the end of the season. Other teams, like if you fire your coach after the season, but you don't get any. But if you fire him during the season, you will get a few extra things at the end of the season. So I think the Bears should just do it now and start doing their research. And there were the rumors, which I don't know, is Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator from Detroit. There were rumors he wanted to be a Bears head coach a couple years ago when the Bears were, last year he wanted to, when it was rumored the Bears weren't going to re-sign or weren't going to keep Floose, which they ended up doing, because remember we were talking about Harbaugh, this or that. Look what Ben Johnson's doing to that offense in Detroit, huh? Wouldn't that be great? But that's next year to worry about, but I would like to see Floose gone. I really would. I know it's not going to completely turn around the season and all of a sudden we're going to start winning all the games, but I think you might have a happier locker room, a more connected locker room, because what they did yesterday was embarrassing. Again, I can't say enough how bad they were. I think people were probably thinking I was going to be going nuts today, and you know what? It's quite obvious. We suck. And it starts with the head coach and then the offensive coordinator. He called a terrible game again. And again, there's really no point. I've gone over it and over and over it. We're in trouble. It's going to be a tough second half. I just don't want to be embarrassed. Do you know what I mean? You know what? I love my Bears like you all do. We all love them. But when they play embarrassing, I can't deal with it. Again, if it came out and was fighting and lost by 3 points or something like that, I wouldn't have been happy, but I could have lived with it. But when you look as bad as they did yesterday, it's not acceptable, and you're like, it is embarrassing. So we are literally the laughingstock of this league, and Floose has got to go. Floose has got to go. I mean it, polls! Floose has got to go! Anyways. There's really no more to say. I mean, I'm beating the dead horse. extremely disappointed, angry, let down. We really thought this season we were going to, in my opinion, now a lot of other people think we would have gone better, but I was just hoping each week we got a little bit better. You know what I mean? A little things. Now, Williams was until last week, although he woke up in the third quarter and he started. But prior to that, he was getting better each week. I don't see that right now. And I'm seeing negativity and negative things with him, and we can't let that happen. We can't screw his head. And, so I thought we were going to be like 500, and then next year, polls would have got us an offensive line because we have all the tools except for the line and a head coach and an offensive coordinator. But really, the line is killing us. So polls has really got to do. But we'll stop with that. And so I would love nothing more to see if Lewis got fired, but I don't see it happening. Although there was 2 firings overnight. The head coach of the New Orleans, sorry, I'm getting excited. The head coach of the New Orleans Saints got fired overnight, and the Raiders fired their offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy. Remember him? Remember we had him last year and we let him go, and the Raiders pick him up? They fired him. Gee, I wonder why, right? That's not a surprise. So anyways, this one's going to be a rough one. I mean, last one was bad, but I don't know. This is worse. Way worse. So I'm going to stew on it all week. I'll be back Friday to talk about I'm pretty sure it's New England we're playing. If we can't beat them, we're really sad. I know, really. So I'm really worried. But we'll see what happens. So you know what, you guys? I don't know what. We're all just going to have to stick together. I don't want people, we got to be careful about our anger because we don't want to lose our team to the fans either. You know what I mean? So, but we have every right to be pissed off. Every right. Especially people who pay for tickets. Because you're paying to see a football game, and that's not what you saw yesterday from the Chicago Bears. So, you got ripped off, and I'd want my money back if I were you. Anyways, so you know what? I don't even know what to say. You know what? When I'm speechless, something's wrong. All right. Anyways, nothing more, but I'd like to hear that Flus is going to be fired this week, but it won't happen, and we're going to be stuck with them the rest of the season, and it's just going to get long. So maybe we'll turn this around. Maybe we'll get our players healthy. Most important to get Brewster and Gordon and Sweat back on that field. There's no doubt about it. Could have been a different game, wholly different if those 3 were in. But I don't know. So on that note, really, thank you for watching. When the Bears start to play like this, I get less watchers because no one wants to hear about them. So anybody who does watch me, I appreciate it. Maybe I made you laugh along the way because that's what we got to do now, right? Because there's not much left to do. So let's hope the next 8 games, 8 or 9 games, right? I don't know what it is right now, is better. That's all I can say. So let's hope the Bears have a good week of practice. We get healthy. Flus can figure what the fuck he's supposed to do. Maybe he can go look up in the dictionary what his job title means, and we can pull a victory out. But I'll see you Friday. But on that note, thank you for watching. I really appreciate I always thank you every show, and I appreciate it. And I wanted to give a shout out. I have a boss who I worked with for many, 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 many years, and I'm still in touch with. Gary, thanks for watching. He, after last week's show on Monday, he left me a voicemail saying, I think you went a lot too light on the Bears, which he was being sarcastic, but thanks for watching, man. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all you watching. It's the best. I mean, the fact that you, ready, turn me on, boom, I appreciate. So, on that note, be kind. Love one another. It's tough out there. Let's support each other. Smile at people when you're out if it looks like they're having a bad day. Help them out if they need it. Stop hate. Americans, and we are good people. So let's show each other how good we are. And Bears fans are the best. Look what we have to put up with. And we're still smiling and supporting them. So be kind and please just love one another. And I really appreciate you watching. I'm going to try to get over this loss this week, clear my head for the next one, and we'll see what comes out of Hallis Hall this week. I'm not counting on much, but, let's see how much Flus, who he blames the most. I have a feeling he's going to start blaming himself because he got called out last week, but to me that means nothing now because he got called out, so now he's blaming himself. All right, on that note, I hope you have a wonderful week. Make sure you all vote, and thank God it's over tomorrow. And on that note, keep on rocking and rolling from Vegas, baby. See you Friday.